Yes, guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And tomorrow afternoon, Chelsea have a massive London derby at Stamford Bridge against West Ham United. The Blues in desperate need of getting back to winning ways after Tuesday night's disappointing performance against Southampton. We currently find ourselves 10th in the table with 2 wins from the first 5 games, already sitting, I think, 8 or 9 points adrift of Arsenal at the top of the table. So it is vital we get back to winning ways. The transfer window is now shut. I think that will definitely help. A lot less pressure on Thomas Tuchel in that regard. The new signings are all in. We'll discuss that. Obviously, Aubameyang and Zakaria joining on deadline day. We'll give our thoughts on those players as well. But George, let's get straight into it, mate. Deadline day, done and dusted now. The summer window is closed. I'll get your thoughts on the window as a whole in a sec. But we've obviously added Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Denis Zakaria to the ranks. A midfield player was essential. I think after the Southampton loss, I think Tuchel finally realised that, shit, we are desperate for a midfield player. We tried a bid for Edson Alvarez on Wednesday night. Obviously, kind of very short notice for Ajax, and Ajax basically sold their whole bloody team anyway, so I think that was pretty tough to get out of it. We looked at Ibrahim Sangare from PSV, weren't quite convinced on him, and we ended up settling for Denis Zakaria, the 25-year-old Swiss international. Decent player, in fairness, hasn't had the best of times at Juventus, has had a few injuries, had a long-term knee injury when he was at Mönchengladbach, but he was really good at Mönchengladbach, and a lot of teams were after him last January or last summer. Manchester United were keen admirers. He went to Juventus, I think, for about £7 million because he only had 6 months left on his deal or something. Hasn't quite worked out for him there. But for me, this is a relatively low-risk, high-reward transfer. You know, there's not really a lot of expectations surrounding him. He's only here for the season anyway. So if he does decide that, if it does turn out that he's shit, then we send him back. And if he turns out really well, we're paying, €3 million loan fee with the 1 million add-ons. I don't really know how add-ons works in a loan deal, but there we go. 1 million add-ons. So potentially 4 million for the season. And if he turns out good, we can sign him on a 5-year deal for 28 million euros, which for a top draw midfield player is peanuts in this market. I mean, mate, what are your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, I think Tuchel's hand was forced a little bit when obviously the post-match reaction after the Southampton game, it clearly was evident that we were lacking numbers in that area. And so he had to go in the market. And when you go into the market that late, options for a top draw midfielder are very limited. You just don't have the time to kind of, negotiate those things. But I agree, mate. I think it's low risk. It's, considering how much we've spent in the market as well, it's a low fee. And, we need reinforcement in numbers. So in that sense, it all adds up. And, like I said, we can only get positives out of this. The worst case scenario is it happens like the Saul deal where we have him and then we let him go. I mean, there's the only thing that I'm slightly, this is just from a personal point of view that, again, we're letting players like Gilmour go. And obviously I completely get it. If he's not in Tuchel's plans, that's absolutely fine. But for me, it's sometimes quite a bitter pill to swallow when you're seeing like young British talent going out the door, and then, bringing in players from, a short-term loan. For me, it's just a bit sour, but I think it's a good bit of business.
And in terms of, the only thing that I'm slightly annoyed about is, look, I know in this window we've had a lot to do. We've had to rebuild the defence pretty much entirely in terms of losing 2 centre-backs. We needed more depth in there as well. We've brought in Koulibaly, Fofana, Zakaria, 3 phenomenal signings, in my opinion. We've had to deal with a lot of outgoings as well. We've addressed some parts of the forward line as well. I'm just annoyed that we didn't decide to address the midfield earlier, because I do honestly believe that perhaps bar Declan Rice, we could have virtually got any midfield player we wanted, and we kind of neglected that position and then suddenly hit the panic button after Southampton on Tuesday night, and we're kind of scrambling around. The youth were a little bit frustrated that despite the obvious workload we had to do in the market, that we didn't actually target a midfield player or prioritise a midfield player earlier in the window to avoid kind of scrambling around on deadline day.
Yeah, I am, but I completely get it. At the time, I don't think it was a priority. I think we thought it was, because we think that the lack of return on goals and creation is coming from no creative midfield player that we currently have at the squad. But it's all in hindsight, isn't it? I don't think Chelsea even make this transfer if Kante and Kovacic are fully fit from the off. So it's kind of a deal that's been, brought together in the last few hours or few days straight after the Southampton game, he probably thought we do need to definitely bring in one. But like you said, mate, we were in a very unknown situation with the new ownership, the sanctions being dropped. We didn't know how much money we're going to be able to spend. Obviously, people from upstairs, the likes of Petr Cech, being removed. So I think considering that we started the window later than most, I think we've actually done remarkably well.
I would agree, mate. And given the midfield options we've now got, so we've got obviously Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Gallagher, and Dennis Zakaria now. Those 6 names, obviously, if we're going to continue with the pivot system, the 2 midfielders, the 2 number 6s, we have got ample cover there. I would suggest so now. I mean, what do you think heading into the season with that pool of midfield players? Do you think there's a nice blend and they complement each other well? Do you think that's a good enough selection of midfield players to really kind of push our way back up the table?
Depends how you look at it. I think it's probably good enough to compete for a top 4 position, but you're struggling to push any higher. And I think that would be a great achievement from Chelsea, actually. I think in my early predictions, I put Chelsea as 4th, quite solid. But since the start of the 5 games in, I've started to retreat that and think that we're actually a bit far off it. Which happens. I mean, predictions are predictions at the end of the day. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, thought that Erling Haaland would struggle. And, I think I've been put in my place there. But look, Chelsea's, I think, the fact that we haven't invested in a world-class midfielder for a few years, I think that is an area that is a concern, but I don't think we can really address it until the summer. And I don't, sometimes, just like Liverpool, I don't think that necessarily not getting the midfield player we wanted was necessarily a bad thing, because it means that we've now got from now until the summer really to think about how we're going to fit those missing holes in the midfield and, well, aka bring in Declan Rice.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's next summer now. I know that's a long way away still, but I think it's clear next summer the big signing will be a top player in the midfield. I think it has to be, given that Kante and Jorginho both out of contract. One or probably both are going to leave. Even if one ends up staying, they're still not going to be hanging around for too long. They might be further out going as well. So I think the midfield player next summer is probably going to be one of the big signings, if not the biggest. But you've got to be pleased with that. At the end of the day, if it gives us an opportunity to bring someone in next summer for more money, or as we said, if Zakaria actually turns out decent, we can add him to the ranks anyway for a fairly cheap price and still go and get someone else anyway. So I think it works both ways and ticks a few boxes. I'm just going to get to a few things in the chat. Oba won't be starting. Oba's not going to be fit to play until October. He can't even start training yet because of that broken jaw he sustained in that horrible robbery at his home in Barcelona. So he hasn't started training yet. Tuchel in the presser today saying that they're hopefully going to get him a mask and he can start training next week, but I don't think he's going to be fit to play at all this month, which is a big disappointment, really. And it is annoying, but he is in. Gilmore for 9 mil, disgraceful fee. I don't know how much more we could have got for him, really. He's not really played any minutes. I think that Norwich loan really did massively batter him and I think affect his fee in that regard. We had a slow start in the market with sanctions, sale, etc. No director of football. Yeah, I don't understand why people think this is a bad window. Yes, you always want more, but given the sanctions, we started work late, no director of football, Tuchel having to do a lot of work, Bowley doing almost all the jobs himself. I think we've done really well. I think we really have. But what's this one here? Really wish we could have pulled off the Alvarez deal. Yep, Joel, I agree, mate. I wish we could have pulled it off, but we left it too late. And Ajax is basically like a car boot sale at the moment. So, they were just selling everyone. They weren't going to let Alvarez go with one of their best players with like a day, like less than a day, really, to try and find their replacement. It just wasn't going to happen. But George, onto our other deadline signing and Zakaria, which kind of concluded in about literally seems like a matter of hours. Was we got that deal done. Aubameyang seems like we were negotiating for weeks. I think it was about 3 weeks we were negotiating for, but he's here now. He's taken that number 9 shirt. I mean, hopefully he can break the curse of the previous wearers of the number 9, because the previous inhabitants of the number 9 shirt have not done well at all. But there he is pitched in the Chelsea shirt. A deal completed yesterday for 14 million euros plus Marcus Alonso going the other way. I think good business there, considering Barcelona wanted 30 million euros at the start of the negotiations. To negotiate it down to sort of 14 million euros plus Alonso, I think is a really good business from the club. And Aubameyang saying that he's really happy. It's an honour to be part of this team, and I can't wait to start. I have some unfinished business with the Premier League. It's good to be back and really exciting. I'm feeling very good, very proud. The shirt fits me well. He's taken that number 9. Hopefully he breaks the curse. But George, what are your thoughts on this sign? Now that Aubameyang's there, he's in the shirt, he's through the door. We can't see him for a month probably, which is a big blow, really. But what are your thoughts on this signing now that he's here?
Look, he's scored goals everywhere he goes. I think I'm just a bit more relaxed now about the number 9 so-called debacle. After the Lukaku thing, I've kind of lowered.
Can't get much worse.
Well, I've just lowered my expectations a little bit. I'm not so getting caught up in the media swamp with, all this is he going to turn the corner? Is this going to be the, whatever, the top goal scorer, and Chelsea are going to suddenly be firing with Aubameyang leading from the front? I've kind of just seen it as we needed a striker. He's come in. He's happy to come in. Great relationship with Thomas Tuchel. And we needed to address that kind of getting over the Lukaku deal by bringing someone in to start in his place. And that can only happen if we bring someone in. I thought money-wise, it made sense. Obviously, I'm a little bit disappointed to see Alonso go because he's been a great servant to the club, did a lot for us. And I think he was very underrated, actually, in my opinion. But it was time for him to go. And it was clear that Aubameyang, I think, even though there were rumours that he was quite happy in Barcelona, I think, when your house starts getting robbed, I mean, I know that's probably from the whispers that he was leaving. He probably didn't feel safe there at the end of the day and felt like he had to move on. But it's great to see him back in the Premier League. He's a goal scorer. And I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I think the blue quite suits him,
Yeah, mate, it does. And if he can have half as much success as any former Arsenal players that have joined, he'll do pretty well here. The likes of Cesc Fabregas, Olivier Giroud, Ashley Cole. If he can have half the success they had, then it's going to be very good. It could be very good business. I mean, George, you said you've lowered your expectations. What do you think the expectations are for Aubameyang? Because look, we're under no illusions. Realistically, he's not going to come in and bang 20 goals in the league. We sort of know that. I mean, if he does it, it'd be phenomenal. He's got the ability to do it, of course, but already starting 5-6 games behind, it probably isn't going to happen. But in terms of kind of goals, all competitions, Premier League and stuff, what do you think the expectations are for him? What are your expectations? For me, if he can hit kind of double figures in the Premier League, maybe 10 to 15 goals in all comps, I think you'd have to be happy with that.
And I think this is it. I think we even have to stop getting so, making it too complex. We just have to say to Aubameyang, or Uber, as Tuchel likes to call him, just to start, just score goals. I don't even think it matters if he doesn't perform particularly well. We just need goals. And, I don't know. The interesting thing is because of, Tuchel's past at Chelsea and trying to get the best out of forwards, I don't know, again, if he's going to try and change the system or he's going to try and change a way of playing. Is Aubameyang going to be the focal point in the middle? I assume so. But we know that Aubameyang sometimes plays off the left. I think that would be criminal to do that in the fact that we've just brought in a forward. But I don't know. If he can get double figures by the end of the season, I think that's a good return. But more importantly, just get him out there, get him enjoying his football. And Chelsea now have a focal point where I just think we just have to be a bit more relaxed and laid back about it. It can't get any worse, put it that way.
Well, you'd like to think not, but yeah, I don't think it will. And I'm happy with it. At the end of the day, this is Tuchel's guy. He wanted him. It's now, as he said in the press today, it's up to him to get this to work. Find a way to get Aubameyang firing and scoring goals. Because at the end of the day, mate, as you say, I don't really care if Aubameyang's involved in a link-up play or not. I just want him there in the box to put the ball in the net. Whether he has 5 or 6 touches, I don't really care. Just as long as he scores, that's the main thing. Like Haaland's got 9 Premier League goals already this season. He's had just over. He's had just over 100 touches. Like no one cares as long as you're scoring. I don't care if you have 3 touches. If those 3 touches all go in the net, that's all that matters. So I think we need to kind of change our expectations. That it doesn't matter if Aubameyang doesn't have that many touches. As long as he's in the right place and can put the ball in the net, that's the most important thing. He doesn't need to be involved in this link-up play, dropping deep. Just stay in the box. Make sure you're there for your teammates to pick you out, and then do what you do best and what you've done your whole career. But yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting, and it's definitely something we needed. I mean, George, another one that was kind of appeared at the 11th hour last night, didn't materialise in the end. Memphis Depay. There was strong rumours there that he was close to joining. A deal would have been difficult, but in the end, he ended up staying at Barcelona. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's disappointing or not really that bothered? I mean, for me, it would have been nice to have an extra body up there personally, but I never expected Depay to come anyway. So the fact that it kind of didn't happen, I wasn't really that bothered. But I think we could have done with an extra body in the attacking area. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and I jumped on the stream last night, and you were saying that something tweeted out saying something big is happening. So I don't know whether he was just trying to push for something or take the story somewhere. I don't know, but no, I wasn't particularly focused on Memphis. I was actually more intrigued about the Aubameyang deal and hopefully getting that over the line. I had a bad feeling that perhaps they would lengthen it out too much and we couldn't agree a fee. But when I saw him that he was actually in the hotel in London somewhere, I thought it's got to happen, and I think that's the right decision in the end.
Yeah, no, I would agree on that as well. I mean, mate, that's kind of rounds out the window really. But just thoughts in general. Todd Bowley's first window as new owner. They spent the biggest spenders. I think it's a world record spend other than Real Madrid one year. We spent, £278 million. That's with the add-ons included. So, I mean, Sky reported it with add-ons included. I think it actually, in reality, it's just over £200 million spent on players without the add-ons, because at the end of the day, not all the add-ons are attainable. But, I mean, Bowley's backed the manager, and we've brought in the likes of Zakaria, Sterling, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, Fofana, Koulibaly, Sterling, Aubameyang, Zakaria, and Zakaria. 6 top draw first team players that are going to go straight into that first team squad and possibly go into the first 11 as well. Plus, we've brought in some really exciting young talents for the future, in the likes of Slanina, the goalkeeper, Omari Hutchinson, Cesare Casadei in midfield, Chukwuemeka as well. I mean, what do you make of the window? I think the guys have done really well. I think this is a really solid sort of 7, 8, 9 out of 10 window, considering the outgoings, the players we got rid of as well. Barkley, Drinkwater, and we've got the likes of Batshuayi out. Loads of outgoings done as well that needed to be got rid of. I mean, I think the guys have done well.
I think they've done really well because if you take into account all of the changes that were happening in and around Chelsea Football Club, with people who are making decisions, in the boardroom as well. Marina going as well. She was a huge influence towards our signings. I think we've done extremely well. You actually look at that list of players that we've brought in. I mean, there's some serious quality there. But obviously it comes with a price. Tuchel's been backed. The owner said he would come in and make a statement. He's certainly done that now after his first real backing in a window. I mean, forget the Lukaku one, because as you said, despite it being reported, £97.5 million, we recouped that money anyway. So it wasn't really, but this is the first big one where Tuchel's been backed. And now, he has to put those tools to good use. And, already it's not a great start. I get that we're in transition. I get it's going to take time. But things, managers don't get long at Chelsea Football Club. He needs to get a move on now and start thinking about the right system, getting those players up to speed, and ultimately start winning games of football.
Yeah, no, I think Tuchel, it'll be a massive relief for him that the window's closed now, because I think he's had to take on a lot of unwanted extra work this summer, a lot more involved in a transfer window than football managers normally are. Yes, they will get input and stuff, but I think he's been driving a lot of the stuff himself as well. And maybe it has deflected away from his time, from his thoughts, and really concentrating on coaching a team when he's had other stuff to go on. Now that he's got his group of players and he's got the players in that he wanted, we can now get the work done on the training ground, and hopefully there'll be an upturn in fortunes on the pitch. But George, let's kind of head into the game this weekend, mate. London derby against West Ham. It's not been a good start. First 5 games, 2 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. We sit 10th in the table. We've not been playing good football at all. Southampton was a disaster on Tuesday night. What are you expecting on Saturday? Because at the moment, it's very much kind of a pick and mix of Chelsea. You don't know what sort of team's going to turn up. You might get a performance like you did against Southampton. You might get one like you did against Spurs. Like you just don't know. Or you might show some resilience like we did against Leicester and grind the win out. What are you expecting? What needs to be done differently from Tuesday to tomorrow?
Listening to the press conference, you're right. I think he's exhausted. I think he didn't manage to get a break and felt that the transfer window was dragging a little bit, and he had so much on his mind about the whole transition, knowing players were going to go without replacements. It's incredibly stressful. On the top of 2 cup final defeats, which probably could have given him a little bit more relaxation, the fact that he achieved something last year. But going into this season, the window's shut. He can now be, switched on and think about his best team, even though some of those players aren't ready to go. I believe who's the other one who's struggling with a work permit? Can't quite.
Zakaria's not. Zakaria. He's not playing. They're hopeful for Tuesday against Zagreb in the Champions League, but they're waiting for the work permit. He's not featuring tomorrow.
So more likely, probably, let's say he's ready for Fulham following week. I don't know. It's like you say, it's a pick a mixed bag at the moment. I really don't know what to expect. I'm expecting a tough game. West Ham, despite not a great start, have also shown some good moments in games, but haven't put it all together in 90 minutes. They do still cause a threat. I guess for listening to the press conference, a bit of bite and a bit of spirit, because he said that we lacked in the Southampton game just a bit of energy and were too easy brushed aside. So you'd expect that more demanding presence, particularly at home, where we would, again, like the Leicester game, expect to control the ball. But, mate, I couldn't predict it. I really don't know what to expect.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect either. But, mate, as you were saying that, mate, the pictures of Dennis Zakaria are now out. He's at Cobham. I'm just going to bring it up on the screen now. Mm-hmm. Pictured at Cobham in the Chelsea shirt with a couple of the directors. Is it this one? Hopefully that's the one. Here he is. Dennis Zakaria in a Chelsea shirt. There we go. First pictures of him at Cobham in the Chelsea shirt, as we said, won't be featuring until, earliest Zagreb in the Champions League on Tuesday. But as you say, George, probably Fulham next weekend away will most likely be his Premier League debut. You would think so, but yeah, it's not. I mean, mate, how concerned are you about the start to the season? 2 wins from the first 5 games. You had patchy form towards the end of last season as well, trying to just about scrape into the top 4 with a couple games to go, and we should have wrapped it up ages ago. This is not kind of a new issue. How do you think we solve these problems? Because Tuchel's not really finding the answers. He's saying we're too soft for a defensively solid team. We've letting in 5 goals in the last few games. I think it's 7-8 goals in the last 3 games. It's really not good. I mean, why do you think we've lost our defensive solidity as well? That's something we prided ourselves on. Now, not only can we not really score any goals, we can't keep any out the opposite end either.
Well, it's down to the midfield. Lack of Kovacic and Kante. I think Kante's one of those, when he's missing, you realise the work that he does off the ball in recoveries and everything else. We don't have that. Jorginho being sloppy in the middle of the park doesn't help. There's not much protection for that back 4 as it goes. You've also got the situation with the new central, defensive partnership, which is never easy. They've got to understand each other. Koulibaly still struggling to find his feet and get with the intensity of the Premier League. Cucurella has probably been the most, shoe-in fit because he's Premier League experienced. He's ready to go, and he's playing in a position. But even he's had to adapt slightly, playing in that inside role. Then you've got Ben Chilwell, who hasn't been fit, and he's kind of in and out. And the bottom line is, if you keep chopping and changing from a back 4 to a back, it's whatever level you play at, that's not easy. Not knowing who you're going to play alongside every week, not knowing the shape. Obviously, I would expect Fofana to go straight in if he can, because I think that'll be a huge boost, not just psychologically, but also he's going to be raring to go, and there's no doubt in his quality either. And I think he solves that pace issue as well that we've been lacking. And at bottom line, I just think complacency. Mendy, too many mistakes, even to the point where the defenders don't trust to pass him the ball anymore. Is his position under threat? I don't know. And then just doesn't matter how well we could defend like absolute giants, but if we're not scoring goals, there's always a risk that we're going to lose football matches. And that's so there's the most crucial ends. And how many times has Tuchel said, the place where it matters most is both boxes, and that's where we're weakest. So
that is a big problem. The manager saying out that we're soft, too easy to play against. Like right now, I think we're probably one of the easiest teams in the league to play against, and that's a big concern. I mean, 5 games in now, 6th game coming up tomorrow. Mate, for me, I said that Leicester was must win. We managed to grind out a win. mate, this is must win now, because even at this early stage, after 5 or 6 games, we're still quite a lot of points off the top of the table. I mean, I think we're 8 or 9 points off the top of the table. Hopefully George will be back in a sec. Yeah, I think we're 8 or 9 points off the top of the table after the first 5 games. Even at this early stage, we can't really afford to go too many more points behind. I'm not suggesting that Arsenal are Premier League contenders or whatever, but if we're going to finish above Arsenal, we're already 8, 9 points behind them. We can't afford to go sort of 10, 11, 12 points behind. Yes, they'll go through patches where they'll lose games and they'll drop points and whatnot. But at this early stage, we want to keep as close as possible to the top of the table as we can, because at the moment we sit 10th. Yes, there's very few points between the teams above us, but at the end of the day, the more points we drop at this early stage, we're going to get slightly cast adrift. And I think at the moment we are looking a little bit adrift. We look kind of out of ideas. I mean, whether we go behind in a game or whether even we take the lead. When we took the lead on Tuesday night, we actually played pretty well Tuesday night. I think we did in the first 20 minutes, and then it just all went to shit. So I don't really know how we kind of fix these issues. Yes, we've got players back fit again now, which is a plus. Obviously, Kante's out, but Loftus-Cheek is fit to play, so that's a bonus. I think everyone else is pretty much fit. There's no Dennis Zakaria for work permit reasons. Aubameyang obviously not featuring either. He's not started training yet. But, again, it's very much still pretty the same personnel. And it's going to be up to Tuchel to try and get something different out of these players than what we've managed to get so far. Because what we've managed to get so far has not been good enough. The 5 games we've played, we've realistically only played well in one of those. We didn't even win that game. It was a Spurs game, was our best performance of the season, and we drew. Leicester, we did play well. We dug in and we rode our luck. But the other games have been to Everton. I know we won, but we were terrible. Obviously, Leeds, we were dreadful. Southampton, we were awful. Like there's a lot of problems, but it's a big boost, as Abdul says in the chat, that Reece James is back. That's going to be a massive, massive plus. And with the signing of Fofana as well, that makes a big difference, meaning that Reece James can now more often than not play right wing back every time he plays. So that's got to be a big plus. Let me just bring this in. RD, yep. Aspie starts against West Ham. We're done. Yeah, as much as I like Aspie, he needs to take on that JT role from a few years ago. Still be the captain, and be a good presence around the place, etc. But I honestly want to see him on the pitch as little as possible. I know that sounds quite harsh given the service he's given, but at this stage of his career, he's got to be on the pitch as little as possible, in my opinion, because he's a bit of a liability now. And yeah, we don't want him playing that much. I don't think he will play that much now that Fofana's in. Reece James is going to play right wing back. I think Aspie now is probably at the back of the list behind the likes of Chalobah and Fofana as well now. Let me just bring this up here. Feel like the players don't feel confident unless they're literally 3-0 up. Yeah, I mean, mate, I'm never confident with Chelsea only a goal ahead in a game. You always need 2. Hello, mate. Oh, mate, I was just saying that how much of I was saying that Leicester was must win, and we managed to get the win. We obviously lost to Southampton. Mate, at this early stage, being 6, 7, 8 points or whatever it is off the top of the table, I'm not saying we're challenging for the league by any means, but behind Arsenal at the moment, you can't really afford to drop sort of 9, 10, 11 points behind, even at this early stage in the season, because that's a lot of points to try and overhaul. I know the likes of Arsenal and stuff will drop points in that, but we're going to drop more points as well. I mean, would you say this is must win in terms of not getting too cast away?
Again, I still think it's too early to say it's must win, because again, it depends what sort of expectations you're going for. But at home to struggling West Ham shouldn't really be dropping points. And like you said, all the other teams around us look stronger. So you probably can think about those teams not dropping as many points as they perhaps did last season. Arsenal, Spurs both looking strong. City and Liverpool. Well, I don't know Liverpool, but City certainly not going to be caught. So, you're even looking at Manchester United and starting to recover, and Ten Hag starting to find his
3 on the spin now, wins wise.
Yeah, trying to find his best team. Maguire out, so maybe they've started to sharpen up at the back, start to keep clean sheets. It's worrying, mate. 10th in the league, and I said it the other day. Last season, 8 games won at home, and Chelsea, currently 10th, and this isn't a problem that's been just this season. We had quite a poor tail end to last season. The rot does need to stop at some point and quickly. And I know we're in transition, but for this club not to get top 4 would be, well, it would be awful considering the amount of money we spent and looking ahead to what we want to bring in next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's still very early days and a top 4 has got to be paramount. But I mean, yeah, I mean, on this one here, is that it there? Yeah, this is what he's saying here. Thomas Tuchel saying, before we talk about challenging, we should be ready to challenge for a win versus West Ham. It's too many points dropped already to talk about big things. We need a turnaround. I told you many times we are a club in transition. We are paying the price in money paid for players. Half the year of insecurity. Teams now getting into rhythm earlier. Who knew what they want, who they are? It was not so clear, maybe until today for us. And I think those are all fair points. And do you think a lot of people underestimate how much of an impact the last 6 months being under the sanctions stuff actually had on the football club and on Tuchel himself? Not only having to be the spokesperson for the club on issues that he shouldn't be fronting up about, personal issues in his life as well, going through a divorce, having no holiday this summer, cutting that short. He's had a lot of extra stuff on his plate. Other than, mate, he must be delighted this window's closed and he can just focus on the football now. But do you think those points he raises there are fair?
Yeah, actually, listening to his press conference, I after listening to that exact quote, I was like, fair enough. We probably need to take a step back and have a little bit of perspective on, personal things going on with Thomas Tuchel and the club. I think it's all, it's been such a whirlwind that people forget that only a couple of months ago, Chelsea perhaps, and, you're going to the extreme here, but Chelsea perhaps might not even been an existing football club. I mean, that's how serious it was. I mean, no megastore. I mean, talk about, an Amazon Prime documentary, missed opportunity for Amazon Prime there. Yeah. From European champions to almost nothing. And it has been, his position, it could have been a point where Chelsea couldn't afford his wages perhaps, and he, wouldn't be able to stay on. I don't know. I don't know how drastic it was, but I think, losing Petr Cech, who was a good friend of his, he seems to miss him. The fact that Chelsea have also been so close to, brushing that under the carpet with a couple of cups that we also lost out so, heart-achingly by penalty shootouts on both occasions is not easy. But, this season, people just think, Chelsea, such a successful club, spent a lot of money, should be able to, mix with the best. And I think Spurs proved that we can, but we've got to take a reality check. Arteta, having quite an up and down season, it's now finally starting to click with his new signings.
In fairness, though, they haven't played anyone decent.
No, but they're
still winning though.
He's had a couple of years to get the players in he wants and to kind of shaft out any of the players that he doesn't feel are required. Chelsea are now doing that. The only thing I question is it was blatantly obvious, even to the average fan, of it's not like we didn't know about Rudiger and Christensen very early on. It's not like we didn't know that we needed a forward. So my only kind of devil's advocate there is it was very obvious that we needed a striker and central defender. So why we were panicking so much and ended up with Aubameyang. Not saying that's not going to be a good signing, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. I think, there's been sort of limitations of the old regime exposed in terms of complete lack of forward planning. I think Chelsea now actually are forward planning with those youngsters being bought in, younger players being bought in as well. The likes of Fofana, Zakaria, both under 25. We are planning for the future. We're looking at windows ahead, and that's something that we've not really done in terms of Chelsea Football Club before. So I think that's a big plus. But I think as well, mate, as upsetting as these defeats are and how poor this start to the season has been, I mean, you said it a lot. We have been so spoilt as Chelsea fans with the success we've had over the years. At this moment in time, we probably have to accept that. Do you feel we have to perhaps slightly change our expectations?
Yes, and I'm guilty of this. You've seen me straight after games, slamming.
Fuming.
Well, yeah, because I think it's a natural reaction after.
Yeah, no, it is.
We are spoiled, particularly in our generation. Like, I haven't really, maybe the first 5-6 years of supporting the football club, but even then we were quite good on the eye, and we won. We got to a couple of cup finals, and we still, my first memory was, just before, in the Champions League. Playing Barcelona and destroying them, and then obviously the 2002 FA Cup final that we lost, but we were still in the mix there. We were still probably a top 6 side, it's fair to say. you know, some of the things we've achieved in our lifetime, we might never see again. You know, I doubt that's going to be true because Chelsea are too big a football club. But you know, think of how much we've achieved in that time, and you know, maybe we do need a bit of perspective. I know there was one odd season when Mourinho, you know, we were in the bottom
like
three,
10th. Yeah, it was
we
mad.
finished 10th. Other than that, though, we've been pretty, you know, in and around the top 5, 6 teams in the league, and I know we spend a lot.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of money, but yeah, it's just. I mean, George has gone again. But yeah, we are spoiled. You know, I think maybe we do need to slightly adjust our expectations on what we should have this season. I'm not saying we're not going to finish in the top 4. I think we still will finish in the top 4. I think now that Tuchel can fully focus on the players, on the coaching, and getting us playing better football, the distractions of the transfer window are all gone now. There should be no distractions now until the January window, and hopefully by January we might actually have a director of football in place. Again, the January window is notoriously shorter, and to be honest, we might not even do any business in that window anyway. So now that, you know, we've got full focus on the footballing matters, I would expect there to be an upturn in form. We can't keep playing this badly week in, week out. After the first sort of 5 games, you would expect us to now be like, right, shit, the window's closed. We've got our players, and the penny needs to drop with these players. That the level of performance that they've been delivering on the pitch has been unacceptable and not good enough. And there's no better way to start rebuilding the season, essentially, is because the first 5 games have not been good enough than a game at home to West Ham, a London derby, a game that, you know, no one should be needing to get up for. They should just be up for it already. You always find a little bit extra, an extra 5% in a derby game. I would expect us to be bang at it, but again, you just don't know what Chelsea's going to turn up, and that's the big issue. What we've got here, up that Kante's still out. It's going to be a number of weeks. It's a hamstring problem. Kante probably, for me, he might be back towards the end of this month, but I wouldn't expect to see Kante really until October, which is still quite a long slog on the treatment table. I mean, this is also a fair point. We're in a unique situation that we've never been in before, where we've got a World Cup mid-season, and as much as you don't want to think about it, players want to play in the World Cup. Playing in a World Cup means a lot to a lot of players, and you don't want to be one of those people that picks up an injury in the early part of the season and is ruled out of the World Cup. So even though players will say, "Oh no, that's not part of our thinking," that subconsciously you might, you know, offer a little bit less or not go full on because you just don't want to be injured and miss the World Cup. I'm not suggesting that's happening with the players at Chelsea, but the World Cup's got to be on players' minds when they're chasing games or whether to go in for challenges, how aggressively to go in. I mean, it's a fair point, but in general, the expectations probably do need to be adjusted. And it's so painful though, because we're like, you know, just saying, "Oh, we need to come top 4." It just sounds like, well, it's not very ambitious at all. But at the end of the day, you know, for us to finish top 4, that would be an achievement. And I think a domestic cup is definitely a must this season. We need to add some sort of trophy, having come so close to 2 cups last season. I know we got the Super Cup and the Club World Cup, but so close to both domestic trophies. I think top 4 and adding a domestic cup with a half decent run in the Champions League, I think you'd have to be perfectly happy with that. And then next season is obviously a big one. But I mean, I'm going to move into the starting lineup now. George could obviously join in when he decides to return. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, this, because, you know, we've seen the 4-2-2 line up for the last few games, and it's not really had the best success. Yeah, look, I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying that you know, that could well be a situation that players might not give as much. Or, I mean, I agree with you, Jimmy. That probably, yeah, that is the case. But I'm just not sure if players think like that or not. But I think it will definitely be on some players' minds as well. But in terms of the game itself, I mean, last few games we've landed up with a 4-2-2, as I said. It's not been the most successful, if being perfectly honest. We've not been able to get the best out of Reece James. And it's just not looked good at all. I don't really like the 4-2-2. I'd expect now, with Wesley Fofana available, that we will revert back to the back 3 with obviously Reece James back as well. Yeah, I mean, RD, yeah, I mean, you couldn't get a worse draw. City in the Carabao Cup away in the 3rd round. we could be sent packing early doors. But yeah, you just never know. But yeah, in terms of the system, yeah, I think that I think we're going to go with the back five now, given the personnel that we've now got available. Reece James is back, Loftus-Cheek is back, Fofana's fit to play. I mean, yeah, but Okoromit, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. What is Havertz's best position? Like, we're 3 seasons in now to Havertz being at Chelsea, and we're still deciding what his best position is. I don't really know. I don't really know what to say about that. Havertz needs to be spending some time on the bench. He's not been good enough. And Brozier showed in his appearance off the bench, he did way more than Havertz did. So for me, Havertz shouldn't be starting, but we'll get to that later. I think the players available now, and this is the best system we've got, in my opinion, for the players that we have. So I think we're going to revert back. I think we're going to revert back to playing this back five system, and it's one that I want to see. Guys in the chat, obviously, let me know your thoughts on this. And before I get into the team, by the way, guys, please do keep smashing the likes on the stream. Let's get those likes up. There's nowhere near enough likes yet for the amount of people tuning in. So people, please keep smashing the like button. It takes you seconds. Just move that cursor over the thumb and smash that button. And also, guys, if you're tuning in now and you're not subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate all of your support. And we are heading towards 2,000 subscribers now. So every subscriber counts. So if you're not subscribed, please do click the subscribe button. It would really be appreciated. Between the sticks, then, I don't envisage a change. I know Kepa's obviously just got engaged, so I mean, starting the game as well would be a great week for him. But yeah, I still expect Mendy to start in the sticks. I don't envisage the gaffer making a change in that position. But again, Mendy has got questions to answer. In terms of his form, again, you know, people saying he's at fault for a couple of the goals, the Leeds one and the one at Southampton. I think the Leeds one is a bit harsh because the ball comes at him so quickly. Not much you can do about it. But when you're beaten at your near post as a goalkeeper, there's always going to be some attention on you. He needs to get better with his distribution. I'm not sure. And again, as well, his the way he commands the box seems to have got really bad in terms of, you know, he's not commanding in the area. He's not very sure when he comes and collects crosses. And I think his lack of form is panicking the defenders. I don't know there's a complete trust there between the defenders and Mendy. Mendy's form's a bit wobbly. Again, we know his distribution's poor. That needs to be worked on. But at the end of the day, I still think he is not Chelsea's number one keeper, and he will play. But yeah, he's got to start picking his form up. And I think in the long term, the next season or two, if Chelsea are serious about winning the title and the big trophies, I think we are going to have an upgrade on Mendy at some point in the goalkeeping department. And the way the game's going as well, you want a goalkeeper that's really sound with his feet. And Mendy just isn't that, which is why we were in for Alisson when Sarri was here. We want a goalkeeper that's good at his feet. I know Kepa's better with the ball at his feet. But yeah, Mendy still gets the nod for me, but he potentially is on borrowed time here. In terms of the back three, then, for me, Fofana saying in a press conference today as well that, you know, he's ready to play. He can play anywhere. He can play right side and he can play central centre back. He's going to take on the number 33 shirt. I see no reason why Fofana shouldn't be starting this game. I really don't. I don't want to see Azpilicueta there. Chalobah's back from missing the game against Southampton as well. But for me, it's got to be Wesley Fofana in for his debut. I think it's a no-brainer. He has to play, and I think every Chelsea fan's really excited to see him make his debut. And as I said, no reason not to stick him in. And that Fofana, Reece James on that right-hand side, I think could be a very exciting partnership. Just like Koulibaly and Cucurella on the left side could be, or Cucurella and Chilwell on that left-hand side. But I think Fofana's got to make his debut. I mean, if he's not going to make his debut he's not going to start against West Ham. Though he's been training for a few days now. I would expect him to 100% start against Zagreb in the Champions League on Tuesday night. But yeah, for me, it's my team. Fofana's going to play. I'm going to stick him in. In terms of the other two making up that partnership, then I think Koulibaly will retain his place. Again, I mean, he had a decent game against Everton and a decent-ish game against Spurs. It's probably his best game against Spurs. The last couple of games, he's looked like he's been struggling a little bit, if I'm being perfectly honest. He's looked like he's been struggling. You know, he's not been as good. Obviously, Leeds was a disaster with the red card, and I thought he looked a little bit ropey against Southampton as well at times. He's still obviously learning the league. It's very different to Serie A. But, I mean, he'll find his feet, but he has looked a little bit ropey the last couple of games. Not really been his assured self, but I'm sure that will come in time. But, yeah, Koulibaly, for me, slots in. And then the big one is, does Thiago Silva play again? I mean, do you rest Thiago Silva and play him in Zagreb? Or do you think, right, we're going to play Silva for this game, and then we'll rest him in the Champions League away at Zagreb? Because with the greatest respect to Zagreb, we shouldn't really be having too many issues against them. And I think we can get away with not using Silva against Zagreb, whereas a London derby in the league against West Ham, we need the points desperately. I think we've got to play our best team, and I probably would go with Silva, although even at this early stage of the season, he has played a lot of football. I still think I'd stick him in and then rest him for the Champions League in midweek. So I'm putting Silva in there, and it's the first time, hopefully, that we're going to see the back line of Silva, Fofana, and Koulibaly, which is, I mean, it's quite scary, really. I think it's a phenomenal, it's the perfect blend of youth and experience. And I think they all complement each other really well. So, yeah, I think that's going to be, that's the back three that I'd go. That's the three centre-backs I'd go with obviously Aspie and Chalobah probably on the bench as options to come on if necessary. Moving to right wing-back, I think we missed Reece James massively in midweek. He's probably is our most important player in this system. He's probably the most important player in the team. Coming from this right wing back position, and hopefully he can put some decent balls into the box, bomb up and down that flank. He's been really good this season. There's been some exceptional performances. So yeah, Reece James slots back in, and a very, very welcome return after missing out through illness on Tuesday night against Southampton. On that left-hand side, I'm probably tempted to stick with Cucurella. And I think that Tuchel is really liking Cucurella at the moment. His performances have been really good. He's already notched up a couple of assists, more than he got last season at Brighton. Chilwell seems to be doing a stint from the bench. There's no reason for me for Cucurella to be dropped from this wing-back position. I think he's done really well. The gaffer likes him. He's a fan favourite, and his level of performance has been really high. And I think for me, Chilwell will probably start against Zagreb in the Champions League, but I would stick with Cucurella. I've been really impressed with his level of performance since he's come in. He's literally slotted in seamlessly. There seems to have been no adaptation period. He's done really, really well. And yeah, for me, I think Cucurella stays in and Chilwell will be on the bench, but Chilwell would probably start against Zagreb. So I'm going in with Cucurella. And it's mad how realistically the players we've signed this window have kind of really been our best performers. I think in Cucurella and Sterling, they've certainly been our standout performers, other than obviously Thiago Silva and Koulibaly to an extent, but not as much in the last few games. I mean, yeah, the mad defence. I mean, yeah, as Shane was saying, the defence on paper, it looks mad, but obviously it's not done on paper, unfortunately. But yeah, in theory, look at that defence: Silva, Koulibaly, Fofana, Reece James, and Cucurella. There's not many better than that. There really isn't. But again, it's not one on paper, so we have to see what we do. Moving into midfield then, we got Ruben Loftus-Cheek back. Kante still injured. There wasn't really an update on Mateo Kovacic's fitness. Tuchel said that he had to take a risk by playing him for a half against Southampton. It was longer than he wanted to play him for. I wonder if he's going to start against West Ham this weekend. I'm really not sure. Maybe I don't know if Tuchel will save him or maybe play him for an hour. He played 45 and he came through okay. Maybe play Kovacic for an hour. I think we've got to the point now where obviously Conor Gallagher's back from suspension. He did start the previous two games. I don't think Gallagher will start in this game personally. I think he'll probably be on the bench. I think Ruben will probably drop to the bench as well, even though he's fit after his injury. I just don't see how Ruben takes one of those two spaces in the midfield. And for me, if Kovacic is fit, then I think it's got to be him and Jorginho in the middle. No Kante. Loftus-Cheek, obviously coming back from a knock, is fit to play. But I think Kova probably starts over him, and Jorginho is going to play at the moment as well. Kante's out injured, and we've got obviously no Dennis Zakaria at the moment either. So that's what I'd go with. I'd go with Jorginho and Kovacic. Chilwell for West Ham game. No, for me, I disagree with that. Chilwell can play in the Champions League against Zagreb. But yeah, for me, it's no Chilwell for West Ham. I'd have him on the bench, and he'll probably come on at some point. But yeah, for me, it's got to be Cucurella. He's done nothing wrong, and Chilwell's still getting up to fitness, and his form isn't quite there, in all honesty. But yeah, I'd go with Jorginho and Kovacic in there. Yeah, I mean, if we let goals in with this defence, we are going to concede goals, of course we are, but we don't want to be leaking goals like we are at the moment with our current backline. We could really do with a clean sheet tomorrow afternoon. But again, as long as we get the win, I'm not too fussed. Let's have a look here. What we've got in the chat. We will leak goals with useless midfield and a dodgy keeper, but I can't disagree with that. Cucurella can play centre back and Chilwell can't. So how is he better? Yeah. What we got here? Are you guys? Yeah, we are. I'm sticking Mendy in because at the end of the day, Kepa's not going to play. Do I think it's time for a change in goal? Probably not just yet. Would Kepa do any better than Mendy's doing? We don't really know because it's not happened, but I don't think Mendy's form has got to the point where you're thinking this guy's costing us games every week. Kepa will play. Kepa, to be honest, might play against Zagreb in the Champions League. There's a possibility there. But for the time being, I think Mendy's still the number one. And whatever people think, yes, his form's been patchy and I've been critical of him. I think it's important that we probably do stick with him. And Kepa will play in the cup games and he may well play in the Champions League on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm sticking Kepa in. By the way, guys, keep smashing the likes on the stream. Please do. There's nowhere near enough likes still. You're doing well. It's got better, but we need some more likes. So smash those likes. And please do subscribe to the channel as well, guys, if you haven't done so already. We are on the road to 2K subscribers, over halfway there now. So please do keep clicking that subscribe button. And if you're tuning in now, you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. James, exactly as I said, start Kepa midweek. I probably would start Kepa midweek. Kepa has improved, yes, but I still think, Tuchel prefers Mendy. And for me right now, I probably prefer Mendy as well. But I don't think there's an awful lot of difference between the two of them, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we've got Jorginho and Kovacic in midfield. Hopefully Kova's fit for an hour, and then you can chuck on Ruben or Conor Gallagher for the last half an hour, 20 minutes if necessary. Moving into the front three, then. This is the big one, the front three. What we got here. Koulibaly should be dropped. He's been awful. Chilwell at left wing back, Cucurella at left centre back. Yeah, again, that's another option that we've got here. There's another option potentially to do that, to stick them in. But yeah, I mean that is an option. But for me, I still think Koulibaly will play. I think when we see rotation on Tuesday night in the Champions League, I suspect we will see that. I think we'll see Koulibaly go to central centre back, and then we'll see Cucurella come to left centre back with Chilwell playing left wing back. I think that's what we'll see in midweek. In terms of the front line, then we know for certain one player that's definitely playing, and he seems to be playing through the middle more often than not at the moment, and that's Raheem Sterling. 3 goals in his last 2 games. He's been a standout performer. And what we got here, Kepa can use his feet, big advantage. Koulibaly has not been awful. He's been difficult. What we got here, Broja should start up front for sure. Havertz on the right and Sterling on the left. I think Broja should start. Havertz for me should be doing up bench. He's been terrible. Yeah, agreed, Shano. Kepa can use his feet, which is a big advantage. RD going Mount, Sterling, Broja. That's probably what I'd go with as well. Sterling, Broja, Havertz. Oba is not fit to play, unfortunately, mate. He's going to be starting training next week. He's going to be having a mask on because he's got a broken jaw. Hopefully, I mean, realistically, Oba is not really going to be available till after the international break. But yeah, we'll have to see on that one. But yeah, Sterling through the middle. He's been our standout performer. He's definitely going to play. I've been really impressed with how he's done, and the fact that he's adding goals to the team as well. And he's doing everything he can, but I do worry that those around him need to step up and contribute a lot more as well, because Sterling will start to feel like Havertz did, that he's got to do everything on his own. Because at the moment, if Sterling's not scoring or Sterling has a poor game, then yeah, it's a bit of a problem. I mean, I've stuck Sterling down the middle, but I'm going to play Broja as well. So I'm going to have Sterling on this left-hand side, but he's definitely one to slot straight in. Sterling left-hand side. And I know I've said before, and I've been very critical of Mason Mount, and he's had a really poor start to the season. I'm going to have to play him because Ziyech I don't think is going to play. Pulisic is not going to start. I probably wouldn't start him either. He's not really done enough. You look at it, and I'm thinking, right, Sterling on the left, or maybe Sterling on the right would be better. Yeah, Mount has been crap, but we've got lack of options. I'm going to go Sterling down the right. I do think they both need to be benched, but like Pulisic's not going to start. Let's be honest. Havertz hopefully will be benched. I mean, Ziyech started in midweek, which was a big surprise. Was not expecting that at all. Didn't really do very well first 15, 20 minutes. Agreed, Jimmy. You know, Mount has to play says a lot about the squad. Yeah, it does. There's a complete lack of competition for places at the top end of the pitch because Pulisic and Ziyech both wanted out and they're out of favour. And it leaves you with Sterling, Mount, Brozier and Havertz. So, yeah, this is it. Exactly as NYH Clips is saying here. Mount's been poor, but our backup options are shit. So that is the problem. And I would agree with this as well, Ruel, that Mount over Havertz for me is a definite there as well. Brozier not match fit. Well, he looked all right when he came on. He definitely did more than Havertz. And at the end of the day, I'm fully aware that Tuchel is not going to start fucking Brozier, but this is my team and that I'd go with. And for me, like, Kai Havertz cannot start this football match, in my opinion. You know, you can't sit and watch what he served up for the last 5 games and just in general. It's been terrible. 5 games, no goals, no assists. Hasn't really contributed anything. You know, he ran about and chucked himself about a bit against Leicester, and people were like delighted. You know, the bar is the bar really so low that, you know, for a £70 million football player that we're delighted because he's chucked himself about a little bit and he's run around. Like, we've got to have better standards than this. And Havertz has got to step up. You know, this is his 3rd season now. He can't keep feasting on that Champions League final goal. He's got to deliver. He has to. Yes, he is, Ivan. James is 100% back in the first 11. Yes, Tuchel's confirmed that he's back fit again. He missed the Southampton game through illness, so he's fine now. Chalobah's also returned. Loftus-Cheek is also fine after picking up that knock against Southampton and came off at half time. But yeah, I mean, for me, Havertz last seen in Porto. I haven't seen him since. Yeah, true. Yeah, but this is the big problem, Jimmy. No goals or assists from Mount or Havertz. So they've played 5 games each, all of them. No goals, no assists between them. It's a big problem. But for me, I'd rather bench. I think Havertz. I'd rather bench Havertz than Mount, in my opinion. We've got here Thomas. Pulisic can't or won't start. Pulisic won't start. As much as I feel he should be given an opportunity, he just won't start. And to be fair, I totally agree with this. And this is something that I've been saying a lot on the channel, is that you can't have, like, it creates a big problem when you've got seemingly untouchable players in the squad. And it looks like however badly Mount and Havertz play, they'll always play. And that sends a bad message to the rest of the squad. Like for the likes of your Pulisic and your Ziyech. Yes, I know they want out, but they're part of the squad and we're going to need to use them. But when are these guys going to get an opportunity to play if they can't get in the team now? If Pulisic can't get starts now, when's he ever going to get a start? And that for me, I think Tuchel needs to manage that situation better. He can't sit and watch Mount and Havertz every week this season and think in the next game that he needs more of what they've offered. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I totally agree, RD. I think Pulisic should be given an opportunity, but he won't. I'm going to stick Mount down this left-hand side, and I'm hoping that he can kind of have a return to form. But he should be benched. He should be benched. There needs to be accountability and standards in the front line and within the squad. What we got here, JS, he's been awful. Should have blocked Højbjerg's shot and didn't. Should have blocked Southampton's first goal. Didn't. Red card against Leeds. Yeah, look, it's not been the best start for Koulibaly. He's adapting to the new league. He will come good for sure. Pulisic should get starts, but he needs to start taking his opportunities when he gets them. Yeah, he does. Admittedly, opportunities coming at right wing back's not ideal, but whatever minutes you can get on the pitch when you're not in favour, you've got to do what you can to impress. And I suppose, yeah, I mean, the Pulisic situation is interesting. I mean, he doesn't want to be here. The move on loan was blocked. He wanted to depart. Yeah, this is a fair point. I remember Thiago Silva having a couple of shockers, particularly against West Brom early on in I think it was his Chelsea debut, actually, away at West Brom in that hideous knockoff Crystal Palace kit we had a few years back. He was dreadful. I think he was subbed at half time, actually, in that game. So, yeah, just goes to show a few bad games at the start of your Chelsea career is not an issue. No, Sterling's not on penalties. Jorginho is the penalty taker, but he was happy to give Sterling the penalty because he was obviously trying to get him off the mark in terms of goals. That's why. What we've got here, I'm not sure, but there's African Nations Cup just after the World Cup. Hasn't there just been an African Nations Cup? There can't be another one again, can there? Because that literally only just finished kind of in December. There's going to be another one in this January coming up. I don't know if that's the case or not. But yeah, I'd go Brozier, Mount, and Sterling. But again, Pulisic perhaps does deserve an opportunity, really. But you look at the team there: Mendy, Fofana, Silva, Koulibaly, James and Zakaria, Jorginho and Kovacic midfield, Sterling, Brozier, Mount. I think that team obviously is definitely good enough to get the points and get the win. But I just don't know what Chelsea's gonna turn up. But this is the problem. The defense is good. The midfield's not bad. Jorginho and Kovacic normally do pretty well together, but he'd say that's perhaps a slight weak point there, maybe. And the front three just isn't firing. You know, Brozier, I think, deserves an opportunity. We can't keep continuing with Havertz, who keeps serving up a load of shit, just absolutely nothing. But then at the same time, does Tuchel trust Brozier? And is Brozier like fully fit to play? That's the problem. I'm not really sure, but for me, my team, I'm picking Brozier. I think you got options from the bench. The bench is going to be really important as well in this game. You think with the 5 subs, I imagine that Pulisic, Ziyech, Loftus-Cheek, Conor Gallagher be four options from the bench. But again, until everyone's back fit, like the attacking options to come off to make a difference in the front line, it's kind of very minimal. That's why we desperately need Oba to get fit fast. And I would have liked us to have added one more, but we obviously didn't. Depay would have been nice, but we just left that way too late. And I think that was kind of a bit of a pipe dream anyway, if we're being perfectly honest in this situation. But yeah, that's my team for tomorrow. Comments on Aubameyang. Yeah, I think it's a good signing. Risk-free, relatively. 14 million euros plus Marcus Alonso, 2 years contract and an option for a third based on how many games he plays in the second year. I think it's risk-free. Tuchel knows the player. He knows the Premier League has got a point to prove. He is a goal scorer. And I think we just need to have the expectations that, you know, we're not expecting him to score 15, 20 league goals. We've got to we've got to have realistic expectations. If Aubameyang can get 10 to 15 goals in all comps, I think it's good. And we just want him to be in the right place at the right time to put the ball in the net. I don't mind if he's not involved in a link-up play or if he doesn't have that many touches of the football. As long as the touches of the football he does have are putting the ball in the net, that's the most important thing, because Haaland scored 9 goals already this season in the league. He's had just over 100 touches. As long as those touches are important, it doesn't matter how little you're involved in a link-up play. Just make sure you're good at reading the game and just be on hand to tap the ball in. You know, the amount of tap-ins that Haaland scored, there's no surprises there. No surprises at all that he scored that many tap-ins, because he's always in the right place at the right time and he knows the ball's going to come. He just has to get in the box and his movement's outstanding. That's what we need to see from Oba as well. Just decent movement, getting in the box and making a difference. He has to. If Brozier is staying, I'm hoping surely he's given reassurances that he'll get a fair chance. Are we being harsh on Havertz, seeing as he's not a number 9? Not sure what his position is. No, we're not being harsh on Havertz because we've had so much time. This is the 3rd season now, and he's done nothing. He's playing as a number 9, and it's poor. He's not doing well at all. Brozier's got to have an opportunity. I do agree, though, that Brozier surely must have had reassurances from Tuchel, because obviously his only competition was Havertz. Now he's getting competition from Aubameyang as well. And you think if Aubameyang starts and Havertz is the backup striker, you would think. And what does that mean for Brozier? It's a bit of a tricky one. I'm really not too sure, to be perfectly honest. But we're certainly not being harsh on Jorginho at all. Tell me about it, mate. Johnny Minerals will be coming for me if I fucking criticise Mount. I've still put him in the team, but just for a lack of options, really. I'd rather bench Havertz than Mount, but Mount should be on the bench, really. But realistically, I've not put him on the bench because there's a lack of better options. But he has to step up tomorrow. He needs a goal or an assist, or at least to influence the game in a positive way, which he's not done so far this season. I'm from Zagreb and a Chelsea fan. I'm scared that Chelsea will lose in Zagreb. Dynamo is strong at home. They beat Arsenal and Spurs there in the past. Yeah, I don't know too much about Dynamo Zagreb, to be fair. The only Zagreb stuff I've watched is when they knocked Tottenham out of the Europa League, when they came back from that deficit in the first leg. But yeah, it'll be a tricky away trip. All away games in Europe are tough, and this will be a massive game for Zagreb. So we'll have to see how they do. But yeah, that's my team for the weekend. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all know that Havertz and Mount are both going to start. But it is what it is. This is my team: Sterling, Brozier, Mount front 3, Jorginho, Kovacic midfield, and then that back five, which is, when you look at it, is quite phenomenal. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, in terms of the game itself, I mean, it's a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. It's obviously moved from the Sunday because they'll be playing Zagreb on the Tuesday night. I don't know. It is a shame because they drop stinker after stinker, but the other options aren't really doing it either. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. Look, Mount and Havertz both should be benched. I've benched Havertz for this one. Mount I've just stuck in. But yeah, this game, as long as we win, that's the most important thing. But we need a reaction. We need a reaction from Southampton. We got a reaction from Leeds, where we dug in and showed great character against Leicester with 10 men for a large amount of the game. But at the end of the day, what we got here? Sterling's best position is left and scoring from there. Why would you change his positioning? Look, to be at the end of the day, look, Sterling is part of a very versatile front three. He'll pop up on the right, he'll pop up on the left, he'll pop up down the centre. So he's going to play all across that front line. So yeah, I've just stuck him in there on that right-hand side, but I haven't necessarily moved him around. I know they're going to move around. So yeah, I get your point, EPL turf, that Sterling, for me, best on the left, but he'll play across all those positions. As long as we win the game, that's the most important thing. We need a reaction as well. We got the reaction after the Leeds embarrassment, where we dug in and showed great character and resilience against Leicester. Got humiliated against Southampton. We need another reaction again. The home performances have been fairly decent this season. Spurs a good performance at home, and Leicester a good performance at home. We need to follow that up with a third good performance at home. Let me just get to these last couple of things in the chat before I round out. Do you think we'll play a 4 with addition of Zakaria, or no, seeming as some think he is more of a box-to-box? Not to do with the fact he's more of a box-to-box. I don't see the back 4 happening because of the defensive signings we've made. Fofana can play in a 4, but he's very much going to play in a 3. Him could have buy Silva. And when Silva moves on, we could look to move to a 4, but I think realistically, this season is predominantly going to be a 5, and we may switch to a 4 in game or in certain games, or with injuries, we may switch to a 4. But yeah, that's the thing. I think we're set in with a back 5 with the defensive signings we've made. So yeah, no, I don't think so. TT has mentioned that he's gone back 4 to be more offensive and create chances for Sterling. I've not seen those quotes from him, but we've always played a back 5, really. I think the back 3 has been circumstantial for the last few games. The back 4 does suit certain players better, but at the end of the day, people cracking on for a back 4, we need a top quality holding midfield player, and I still think we're going to play the back 3. I really do. I think at some point we may well change to the back 4. What's Kai's position? Bench at the moment. I don't really know what he is, to be honest. I think maybe he might work as a number 10, maybe try him deeper as an 8. But at the moment, any of those positions across the front line, it's just not happening for him at Chelsea. When is Chilwell back in the first 11? I think Tuesday night against Zagreb, Chilwell will start. But at the moment, Kukureya's first choice, and rightly so. Back 4 suits Ziyech and Pulisic more. I would agree on that also. But yeah, to round out, guys, my score prediction. I don't know. It's not been a great start to the season. 2 wins in the first 5 games. Some shocking performances in there. But the perfect time to bounce back with a win and back to form is a London derby at home. So I'm going to go with a... To be fair, the last 2 games I predicted 2-1. I was right against Leicester. I got the score right against Southampton. It's just the wrong way round. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win against West Ham. I think we've got enough about us to get back to winning ways. I think it's really crucial that we do get back to winning ways. It's going to be really important. But at the end of the day, just get the win. I'm going 2-1 for the Chelsea. That seems like a good place to round out. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for getting involved in the chat. Really appreciate all your input as always, guys. Please do smash the like button on the way out. Continue to smash those likes on your way out. Let's get them up. We've done better. We've got them up, but let's get them up even more on your way out. And please do subscribe to the channel on your way out as well. We'd really appreciate all the support. Take seconds. Please do subscribe, guys. But yeah, hopefully I won't be back tomorrow. I've got a wedding this weekend tomorrow, so there'll be no match reaction on Saturday. I'll probably do a match reaction Sunday to the West Ham game. So yeah, guys, smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe to the channel on your way out if you haven't done so already. Take care. Have a good weekend, and up the Chelsea.